This program is aimed at explaining dynamic memory related notations. Main drawback of language supported arrays, which we have come across till now. For example, integer a square brackets 10. So there we are declaring a integer array to be having 10 elements. Here always it is essential that the size should be positive integer constant greater than 0. The main drawback of this notation or this style of array creation is that one way our program lacks flexibility. The other way our program may waste memory. That is, if I declare an array to be having 10 elements and write very huge program, the program will work for a problem size of at most 10 elements only. Sometimes the efforts what we have spent on developing the program will be more, and because of this array size we have declared 10, it will work for problems of size 10 only. That way our program is said to be lagging flexibility. Maybe in order to have flexibility, if I declare that array to be having 1 lakh elements, then it will work for problem size of 1 lakh element also. However, when really it is using for a problem, the problem is having hardly 3 elements only, which means that we in that 1 lakh array we are storing only 3 elements. What is going to happen now? Remaining elements of that array, they cannot be used. That means that the program is wasting the memory. This is the drawback of language supported arrays. That is, one way they lack flexibility, the other way they may waste the memory. Thus, dynamic array management is supported in the C language, that the user, while program is running, he can create array of required size while the program is running. Thus, neither the program lacks flexibility nor it may waste memory. In order to do these operations of allocating memory, deallocating memory, we have set of functions. They are called as dynamic memory management functions. Mind it, all these things are in the hands of the programmer. So the example functions are malloc, calloc, alloc, free, etc. Malloc, calloc, alloc, etc. they are allocating memory, whereas free is meant for deallocating the memory. Malloc is a function which is commonly used for allocating memory. This function prototype is as shown in the slide. It requires an integer as an argument. It allocates that many bytes of consecutive memory and returns the starting address of that memory. The address will not be having any type. That is called as, it returns a generic address. For example, if we send 100, it allocates 100 bytes of memory and then returns the starting address of that 100 bytes of memory, whatever it has allocated. That address, whatever it returns, it will not be having type. That is the reason why it is called as generic address. Remember, if we wanted to see that 100 bytes as a 1D integer array, then we have to typecast the address whatever the function returns into integer address. Thus, that 100 bytes can be seen as a integer array. Of course, the same we can see as 100 element character array if we wanted. To see that one, we have to typecast the address whatever the malloc function returns to character address. Like that, based upon our requirements, that 100 bytes can be seen as an integer array, character array, float array, double array, or any type of array of our interest. If we wanted to do, we have to convert the address whatever it has written, the generic address, to the required address by explicit typecasting. Calloc function is also used to allocate memory, but in addition, it gives freedom to initialize that memory to zeros. The free function takes an address as an argument, then it deallocates the memory starting from that address. Integer variables I and n and a pointer variable a is declared. Number of elements required for the integer array is read into the variable n. Let us assume that n value is 10, that the user has entered 10. That is, he wants a integer array to be having 10 elements. How much memory is required for a 10 element integer array? 10 into size of int. So that is calculated. That number is sent to the function malloc. In this example, if I assume that the machine is using 2-byte integers, then it requires 10 into 2, that is 20 bytes. For the function malloc, we are sending 20 as argument. What it does, it allocates 20 bytes of consecutive memory and then returns the starting address of that memory. We have mentioned already that that address, whatever malloc returns, is a generic address. Now I wanted to see this array as integer array. Thus, that address has to be typecasted to integer address. Thus, we have used integer star. Whatever address we get, we are assigning to the pointer variable a. For our explanation sake, we are assuming that is 1004. That is the address which is allocated by the malloc function. From that address to another 20 bytes is allocated for our request. A value is 1004. We understood that A is the starting address of that consecutive memory of 20 bytes which is allocated by the malloc. A value 1004. We can even say that A is the address of the first element of that integer array which is created dynamically. A plus 1, A plus 2, A plus 3, etc. they becomes the addresses of the next element, second element, third element and vice versa. That is the reason why people say A is the address of the array. It is partially correct, as if A is the address of the first element, A plus 1, A plus 2, A plus 3, etc. becomes the addresses of the next element. Thus, it is appropriate to call A is the address of that array, or even people call is the base address of the array. Here we wanted to give one emphasis. A is 1004. If A is a integer pointer, A plus 1, A plus 2, A plus 3, etc. they becomes addresses. They are addresses of the next elements. They are also integer pointers. If A value is 1004, then A plus 1 becomes 1006. A plus 2 becomes 1008. A plus 3 1010 and vice versa. Remember, here the pointer type comes into picture, as A is an integer pointer and on the machine for an integer 2 bytes are allocated. That is the reason why if A is 1004, A plus 1 is becoming 1006 and A plus 2 becoming 1008. If A would have been character pointer variable and A value is 1004, then A plus 1 becomes 1005, A plus 2 becomes 1006 and vice versa. If A would have been a float pointer and the machine uses 4 bytes for float, then if A is 1004, A plus 1 becomes 1008, A plus 2 becomes 1012 and vice versa. Thus, though for any pointer allocated memory cell number is the one which we can assign, practically the difference comes in this fashion. That is, if A is integer pointer, A plus 1 becomes just 2 will be added for that A. Like that, the type matters. Thus, in a nutshell, if A is the address of the first element of a dynamically allocated array, then A plus 1, A plus 2, etc. they are the addresses of the next elements. Rather, we can say A plus I for some integer I is the address of the ith element of the array. Similarly, star of A plus I is the value of the ith element of the array. In this notation, star of A plus I is same as A of I. That is, here also we can still continue to use A of I notation of the language supported arrays. This for loop is used to read the data into the dynamically allocated array. The for loop is written to start from 0th element, that is I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Thus it runs for n times. However, see the scanf statement. We have given scanf %d, comma, a plus I. Why we have written like that? Scanf requires what? What type of number it has to read, we have to specify. Through the format string, we have specified %d to indicate it is supposed to read an integer from the user. And then what else you require to supply? We require to supply the address into which the value whatever user enters to be stored. So here we have written a plus I. What is a plus I? We already understood a plus I is the address of the ith element of the array. Thus, we are informing the scanf function it is supposed to read a integer and store in the address, so and so address. When I value becomes 0, a plus 0, that is 1004. So in that address, whatever user enters, that will be stored. When I value becomes 1, a plus 1, that is 1006. So in that address, the user whatever enters, it will be stored. Similarly, when I value becomes 2, a plus 2, that is 1008. In that address, whatever value user enters will be stored. Like this, we are reading the data into the array. Let us try to simulate this program with n value as 5. I is initialized to 0. Is I less than n? Yes. We assume that the user has entered 17. Thus, the scanf function tries to store this number 17 in the memory location 1004. I value will be incremented by 1. Is I less than n? Yes. This time we assume that the user has entered 31. So that 31 will be stored in the memory location 1006. What is that? It is the address of the second element of the array. So which means that we are assigning 31 to the second element of that array. I value will be incremented by 1. Is I less than n? Yes. This time we assume that the user has entered 34. The scanf reads this 34 and stores in a plus 2, that is 1008. That is, third element of the array becomes 34. I value will be incremented by 1. Is I less than n? Yes. We assume that the user has entered 41. This 41 will be stored in 1010 address. That is, fourth element of the array becomes 41. I value will be incremented by 1. Is I less than n? Yes. This time we assume that the user has entered 10. This value 10 will be stored in 1012 address. That is, fifth element value of the array becomes 10. By now we have read 5 elements values into a dynamically allocated integer array. Using the last for loop, we can print the elements of the array. While accessing the array elements, we can access through star of a plus I or a of I notations. The printf statement uses both star of a plus I and a of I to demonstrate that it gives same results. Thus, we may get results 17, 17, 31, 31, 34, 34, 41, 41, and 10, 10. Like this, array elements can be accessed if the array is dynamically allocated. This program is